Hey everyone and welcome to Storytime. My name is Jake and today we are going to be looking at the subreddit r/maliciouscompliance. So sit back, relax and enjoy some satisfying stories. If you're late one more time, you'll get suspended. So this takes place back in high school around 2001-2002-ish. Not a huge satisfying scenario, but it sure felt like it back then. I was enrolled in a private high school back in the day. This means two things. Basically, they can make up whatever rules they want since they aren't governed by the state. And it means that most of the kids didn't live in the neighborhood the school was located in. Personally, I lived about 20 to 25 minutes away from school, which, coupled with the fact that I wasn't a very organized person, meant I had trouble making it to school by the time the first bell rang. Well, our school really wanted to crack down on lates. They eventually adopted a system where if you were late 3 times, you were awarded a detention. After 3 detentions, you received an in-school suspension. The punishment definitely didn't fit the crime, at least in my opinion. Another caveat to this scenario is that I didn't have my driver's license yet. So when I got my first detention, my dad had to adjust his day by 60 to 90 minutes to accommodate picking me up later after school. Especially since I had a younger brother who was dismissed at normal time. So he had to pick him up, wait an hour or so, then come back for me. I eventually earned my second detention for being late, and my dad did not appreciate doing the whole extended pickup again. So cue a few weeks later and I've already racked up another 2 lates. Then one morning I was rushing around trying to get ready and imploring my dad to get there on time, because if I didn't I would get a 3rd detention and an in-school suspension. To which he replied, "Okay, what's the consequence for being absent?" Nothing? Well, if we're going to be late, I'll just call in and tell them you'll be absent today instead. So from then on, if we were ever running late, my dad would call the school and inform them I wasn't going to be there. My dad did things like this all the time, and he didn't care because frankly, he didn't like most of their rules either, and I was a good student. So in turn, I got a couple weeks worth of days off by the time the school year was over, and 16-year-old me couldn't be happier. That's actually something to think about. Most businesses and schools punish you for being like 10-15 minutes late, but if you're absent for the entire day, they just don't care. Guy paints his house bright purple to spite the town's historical board. When my dad was growing up, every morning his bus to school would pass this bright purple house with a yellow trim. Just super obnoxious paint job overall. It was so noticeable that everyone referred to it as the purple house, and it was kind of a running joke. Turns out, when this guy first bought the house, he painted it an off-white color, and immediately got in trouble with the town board. Since he lived in a historical part of town, there were specific colors he couldn't paint his house, and the basic off-white color was in violation. He thought it was stupid, so he fought it but lost. The guy just spent several $100s repainting his house, and now he had to do it all over again, so he was ticked. As revenge, he finds the most obnoxious color he could find that was technically in compliance with the code, and paints his entire house that color, which ended up being bright purple. He kept his house that way for as long as he lived there, peeing off the board for years. Oh no, someone painted their house an off-white color, better take them to court. That's so petty. You want me to do the dishes? Okay. A few years ago, I worked at a little small-town Taco Bell as the drive-thru guy. The manager I worked with most for about 8 months of my 2.5-year career was probably the least likable person I have met. The manager was a short, obese ex-addict with a lazy eye. The manager liked to verbally abuse and bully inexperienced individuals like myself at the time. Possibly the only time I've been given the opportunity to be on r/maliciouscompliance. Manager sends me on my 10-minute break and demands that I finish the large pile of dishes when I return. Okay. I responded innocently and handed them my headset. Normally, it'd be my job to do the dishes as the drive-thru employee, but working night shift, I was the only drive-thru worker besides the incompetent manager. Dishes were normally out of the question, seeing as I had way too many other things that constantly took priority. I returned from my break and silently began to whittle down the dishes. After 10 minutes or so, I walked to the break room, an outlet the size of a closet with a table and a chair in it, and see them sitting down and eating while they're supposed to be working in the drive-thru. Very conveniently, after I reach for my water and take a sip without acknowledging them, the headset beeps in their ear. They shoot up out of their chair, setting their half-eaten gordita down, and furiously ask, "Why aren't you back in the drive-thru?" I respond with a sassy, "You told me to finish the dishes when I got back." They grumbled and hobbled towards the drive-thru. After they finished the drive-thru order, they came over to me and handed me the headset and asked very kindly, "Here, I'll do the dishes, can you take over the drive?" I responded with a simple, "Sure," and returned to my rightful corner with a very big grin. And the manager left me alone for a while after that. At first I was like, wait, Taco Bell has dishes? Aren't they a fast food place? But then I was like, oh, it's probably the containers and stuff like that. Not enough sauce? Okay, I'll give you sauce. So this one probably isn't as great as others, but my smarts got myself, my co-workers and my manager a laugh. I work at a pizza chain. It's not nationwide, but there is multiple restaurants. So it was just a typical Friday. We were busy, but we were keeping up. Someone ordered a pan pizza, which I didn't even know we had. I have a severe distrust of my short-term memory and check the tickets constantly. I rarely mess up the pizzas themselves when the tickets are right. About a half hour after it was picked up, we got a call. "Can I talk to your manager, please?" I told my manager on shift he has a Karen on line 1. After about 5 minutes, he hangs up and tells us to remake it and load it down with as much sauce as freaking possible. So that is exactly what we did. In case you don't know, these pan pizzas have us line the inside of a pan with dough. I put so much sauce in there, it isn't even funny. It became a pizza soup. My manager saw it, laughed and said, "Freaking perfect." We got a call back saying she didn't like it and was never ordering from us again. Instead of trying to rectify, the manager said, "Okay," and hung up. Wrote down the name on the post-it note and said we were no longer taking orders from them. Oh, I see that as a win-win right there. The Karen got her pizza with more sauce on it, and the pizza place got her to never order again. You can't miss more than a day. In 1999, I graduated from high school, and during that year, I started to lose feeling in my fingers. I found out that I had a condition called ulnar nerve palsy. Doc said that the nerve in that arm was so tight that it was like a rubber band, and the tissue/muscles/ligaments in my fingers were starting to atrophy and claw, so I couldn't straighten them. I used to be able to touch very hot things because I couldn't feel it. The condition made it hard for me to play my flute, my saxophone, write, type, pretty much anything that involves using my hand. I had surgery on my right arm and had what's called an ulnar nerve transfer and epicondylectomy. This procedure involves repositioning the ulnar nerve that allows you to feel/move the left side of your ring finger and all of your pinky. They also cut off a portion of my funny bone to allow the nerve to glide over the area without becoming stretched or impinged. So, on my right inner arm, I have a scar that's about 10 inches long that I concealed with long sleeve shirts. It was a pain in the butt. I couldn't do anything with my right hand and I'm right-handed. At the time, I was in community college, so I had to figure out how to do homework, labs, and the like with only one hand, while the other was healing. Painfully. I couldn't go to flute quartet practice for what seemed like forever. So now that the backstory is done, we fast forward a bit. In the year 2000, I decided that I didn't want to do community college anymore, and instead, I wanted to go to trade school. I did extremely well, thanks to being in biotechnology and performing arts in high school previously. So about 6 months into the 10-month medical, assisting in limited x-ray program, I had a reoccurrence of ulnar nerve palsy. It was getting harder to do the blood draws, injections, and EKGs. So I went back to my surgeon, and he confirmed that I had it in my left arm now, only not nearly as severe as the right. I would still need surgery, I would just get to keep my epicondyle this time. I went back to the school and told the school that I would be having a surgery and wouldn't be able to do much. I didn't have much time to talk, so I left this information with the secretary in the admissions office and went to my x-ray class. About halfway into the class, someone from the admissions office called me and my teacher out into the hallway. The admissions lady started speaking. "So, with your surgery, do you know when it will be and how long you'll be out?" My teacher then asked, "You're having surgery?" She looked a bit concerned, but I didn't really know why. "Yeah, I have to have the ulnar nerve in my left arm moved." The teacher looked at the lady from the admissions. "OP, did you know that during the limited x-ray portion of the program, you are only allowed to have one absence? You have to be here for each of the classes or you have to take the entire course over again." No. I looked at the admissions secretary. "There's no medical exemptions, even if I speak with the dean?" "No, there's no exemptions." The admissions lady tells me that I have a decision to make. Have the surgery and take the entire x-ray course again, or postpone the surgery. After she tells me this, she returns to her office and we return to the classroom. After my teacher gives her lecture about cathodes and anodes, and some of the students start doing x-rays on the fake body parts, I'm sitting in my seat. My desk was on the other side of hers. She comes around the desk and sits on the edge of hers. "Do you know what you're going to do? We can go out and talk about it." I'm not too shy about my medical issues. Plus, everyone in the class has seen my scar on my right arm. Heck, they've seen me shirtless or sans my scrub bottoms as we practiced EKGs, butt shots and thigh shots on each other. I don't know, I don't want to take the course all over again, but I can't postpone the surgery because it will probably get worse. My classmate May speaks up. "Is this on your left arm?" I tell her and that if I miss more than one day, I'll have to take the course again. May and a few of the other students near us are irritated over this rule because it was something that wasn't widely known. I surely didn't know about it. "Do you know if you'll be staying overnight in the hospital?" I didn't last time, I just couldn't function for days after it because of the anesthesia and pain meds. She thinks for a minute. "When is the surgery?" I had to look this up in my med record for this story. May 25th. She kinda smirked at this. "So, this is what we're going to do. You will have your surgery on the 25th. Do you have someone who can drive you?" I could ask my dad. "Good. The 26th is a Friday. You'll have the weekend and the holiday, and the school won't be back until the 31st, so you'll be able to spend 5 days at home. Have your dad bring you to class on the 26th. You can sleep at your desk. The rule says that you have to be in class, and it doesn't say that you have to be awake. Make sure you bring any ice packs, meds, and a couple pillows." "What about the lecture?" May says, "I'll photocopy my notes for you and write down what you need to read over for the class." The teacher reaches over to her desk and pulls out a planner. After flipping to the next month, we'll be going over the anatomy of the lower skeletal bones, so it should be pretty easy to review and learn from the book. My arm is wrapped like a mummy in bloody cotton, ace bandages and plaster brace, and I stumble into the building after sleeping the entire way to the campus building. I go in, set up my pillows to rest my arm on, gel ice pack on the general area of the incision and stitches, though I could just barely feel it, a few of those ice packs that you squeeze and they're cold, and a bottle of Vicodin that held enough pills to give everyone at least 1.5 pills. It wasn't long before I was asleep against the wall and was only shaken awake when I started moaning a bit in pain and was told to take another pill by May. The day couldn't end soon enough, and when it did, I slept all the way home after Dad picked me up. May sent me her note and I was grateful. At the end of the limited X-ray class, I bought a sheet cake to class to thank my classmates for their help and to celebrate going on to our next set of classes. Graduated in January 2001 and was hired on the site where I did my externship. It's been so long since then. I've left medical assisting a few years back and just graduated this summer with 2 associate's degrees and planning on possibly getting my bachelor's. I'm no longer self-conscious about the 10-inch scar on my right and the 7-inch one on my left, and I'm still making sweet music with my instruments. That seems like such a stupid rule that you're only allowed 1 day off, but it's a good job they had a really nice teacher. Hey everyone, I hope you all had a really good day and that you enjoyed that video. If you want to check out some other videos, then click on screen right now or check out the playlist down below. If you enjoyed that video, then please do leave a like. And if you want to submit your own stories, then you can do so by joining the Discord in the top link in the description. But thank you so much for watching and I will see you very soon.